So I'm sure most of you guys have seen everything that's happened since yesterday with Elon and Trump. Obviously, there's been a lot of kind of back fallout from that. My only interesting hot take from this or opinion would be that I'm very curious to hear what the guys on All in One podcast are going to say. I'm very curious to hear what Joe Rogan's going to say. I know he's made a comment already. He had an episode with that guy Kash Patel, and young Jamie kind of broke the news live while as they're recording that Elon and Trump had fallen out publicly, and Elon had said some not so nice things about Trump on the timeline, but he didn't really say too much, right? I want to really hear what he has to say. I can't wait to hear what Joe Rogan has to say, his opinion, because he's been shilling and shucking and jiving and sucking on fucking Elon's dick for a while, and obviously Trump's. So I'm interested to see where he kind of lays his loyalties. I'm also curious to see, like I said, the All in One podcast guys, who are incredibly nauseating when it comes to talking about Trump, and especially Elon, especially what's his fucking name, fucking Jason Calacanis. He thinks fucking Elon's Jesus Christ reincarnated, so it'll be interesting to see what he has to say about that. I'm also curious just to see how it kind of plays out with some Republicans as well, who were firmly on the Elon bandwagon. Will they rededicate themselves to MAGA? Will they look at Trump now with another, in another way? How that's going to play out. But the most interesting thing for me is this post courtesy of Elon that he made when the whole thing was going on, where he said, time to drop the really big bomb. At real Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT. Mark this post for the future. The truth will come out. So essentially, Elon is basically letting us know that he's somehow seen the Epstein files. He's had a peek. He's had a gander. And he knows, or maybe he hasn't, but he just has information that will lead him to believe that Trump is in the Epstein files. Now, that isn't too surprising if you've been paying attention to things. That's been one of the most frustrating things about Trump in general and all these fanboys, especially people like Joe Rogan, their refusal to speak about the Epstein link, because there's videos, there's accounts from other people about, Trump and Epstein being pretty, I won't say close, like friendly, but, they knew each other. They roamed around the same sort of circles. So it's pretty crazy how nobody really pulls Elon up on that. Other people have had it. Other people have been grilled about their association with Ghislaine Maxwell and fucking, Epstein. But for some reason, Trump never gets pulled up on it, especially from people like Rogan and stuff who are obsessed with conspiracies. You think he'd be interested in trying to asking that question or maybe talking about it some more, but they don't. And a lot of people have been wondering, why is it taking so long for the Epstein files to not flipping, get released? Now, to be fair, a lot of people, myself included, would imagine the Epstein files haven't been released because they've probably been redacted. A lot of names are probably going to get omitted. Most likely, whatever version of the Epstein files we eventually get won't be anything interesting to actually check. It may just be a repeat of the fucking flight log manifestos and shit that we saw, that some of them, they got really muddied because people had been altering them and whatever else it may be. So I don't expect it to be really that crazy, to be honest, because it's taking too long. But I also thought to myself, the reason why it's taking so long is because the people featured on that list are way too powerful and influential to let that stuff get out, So they have enough of a pull to dictate when that does get released, or the hope is people just forget about it and they can move on, which ain't going to happen, obviously, because we're living in the most conspiratorial times ever. People, the more you kind of keep this sort of stuff from them, the more they're going to want to dig. So people are never going to move past it. But it does feel like the reason why there's been such a delay is because most likely there's a big name on there. No one wants to confirm it. Obviously, what Elon is accusing Trump of is pretty crazy, because essentially he's implying that Trump is a human trafficker. If that's the case, then that's prison, isn't it, right? That's not going to be impeachment, I don't think, right? That's not going to be fucking a slap on the wrist. If it does come to pass that Trump played any part in the transportation of flipping young underage girls, right? Like, he's in real big trouble. So this is crazy thing to drop, especially when you consider that Elon was Trump's right hand man. I wouldn't give Trump any flowers for this. I wouldn't give him a pat on the back. No, sorry, I wouldn't give Elon Musk a pat on the back for this because he was Trump's boy for a long time. I don't think you get any props for like, you know, airing out somebody who was doing madness when you were involved with the madness or standing by them, or you were standing by them with full knowledge of the madness. You don't get any props for that. In a weird way, this is a terrible analogy, but it kind of reminds me of, like, you know, when girls break up with dudes, or if a dude cheats on a woman and then she flips out online and she starts calling him ugly and shit. And it's like, that's not going to work though, isn't it? You can't really call this guy ugly or a loser or a bum because you still let him hit. You still let him smash. So if you let him smash and you think he's a bum and a loser, what does that make you? You know, so in this regard, as great as it is that Elon is saying what he's saying and insinuating that Trump may have been involved, you know, in some not so great things with Epstein in terms of human trafficking, it still doesn't make Elon look great because he was endorsing that guy. He was standing by him, wearing his hat, doing fucking star jumps and shit and X signs everywhere, bringing his kid around him and stuff. Like, you don't come out there smelling like roses either, Elon. You know what I mean? And I also don't buy this notion. I'm sorry. I don't buy this notion that Elon is doing this for some sort of egalitarian reasons. Because the debt over there in the States is going to be crazy and he doesn't like the bill because it's going to plunge the country into more debt and blah, blah, blah. I don't buy that in the slightest. There is a self-interest here at play. Not too sure what it is because politics isn't really my forte. I haven't read the bill in any kind of detail, so I have no idea. But I would bet, you know, a lot of money that the reason why he's flipping out on Trump about this flipping bill has more to do with his own self-interest, with his wealth, with his net worth, whatever, with the success of his companies, as opposed to him trying to fight for America not to get into fucking debt and not to go bankrupt or something. I don't buy that in the slightest. I don't buy it. Either way, it's been incredibly entertaining to watch from the outside in. I'm not going to lie. I've enjoyed every single minute of seeing these guys warring back and forth. I think it's quite funny that it all started because, you know, Trump essentially disowned him, right, Elon, by essentially putting some distance between them, essentially saying, hey, maybe we're not going to be boys, not going to be friends anymore. And Elon went in a bit of a tirade. I think this was on the cards for a long time. Those two egos, those two narcissists probably couldn't ever coexist for a long time. It kind of reminds me of, like, you know, that meme about when all the IG baddies link up to go on holiday together. That's what cute girls do, right? Cute girls sometimes are friends with other cute girls, and they inevitably sometimes will end up being IRL friends. They'll go on some big girl trip together, and then, you know, slowly but surely during the process of the trip, you'll start seeing less and less people there. People sneak this in, or people returning, and then suddenly people start unfollowing each other. It's like it happens every single time, like clockwork. Whenever cute girls get together, they go on holiday together and they fall out. So this is the same sort of thing. You can't, you know, Elon and Trump are the cutest guys, but they're pretty big deals in their own fields. So they couldn't coexist forever and ever. It was never going to last for a long time. I'm just surprised it happened so quickly because it seemed like they were on good terms. It seemed like Elon had left the regime, at least Doge, with a handshake, and it was all good. But if you believe the rumblings behind the scenes, the black eye that allegedly came because he had some argument with some dude that was involved in Trump's government and shit. So there's been some rumblings behind the scenes that Elon has been not on good terms with a lot of people associated with Trump. He hasn't been liking certain things. So maybe it's no surprise it happened, but I'm glad to see it's happened. I'm not going to lie. It's a good thing for all in all, but I don't think Elon deserves a pat on the back. He's done nothing to deserve a pat on the back, in my humble opinion.